Okay, and we are live. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have such an interesting topic, and I am joined by Vanya, who is the founder of Four Time.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, Vanya is the big brains behind all our content creation.
Okay, don't even put that on me. That is 100% not the case. We have a beautiful team of creatives.
Right. But you brought us all together, so you
True.
have to take some credit there. Yeah, I'm so excited to be chatting to you today about
Same.
viral videos.
Oh
Woo.
yeah.
Yeah,
Whoop whoop.
super fun, super big topic, and we're literally
Mhm.
covering from A to Z, like
Yeah,
starting, middle, ending, and
the
past.
full works.
Yes.
Literally.
Okay, cool. So I think we should just jump right into it. So the first thing with understanding
Mhm.
short form content, first of all, and viral short form content, is you have to be so in tune with who your audience is, right? So knowing your
Mhm.
audience, knowing who you're talking to, because I mean, you can't do all these
Yeah.
fun like Gen Z trends if you're trying to target 60-year-olds, you know?
100%.
Exactly. But then again, with knowing your audience, I think a big part of this is also engaging with them in the comment section, in your
Mhm.
DMs, in whatever feedback you get, because there's one thing to know your audience on paper, who they are, and one thing to actually engage and talk to them, because you might have the
100%.
60-year-olds that are very cool and like rock star, you know.
That
So,
actually like the trends. So then it works.
exactly. So yeah, that's my biggest thing in terms of like
Yeah.
idea generation, coming up with like what concepts are we actually gonna put out there in the world.
100%. 100%. And I mean, it's always difficult because in marketing, you always go back to the customer, you go back to your audience, you go back to who you are doing what you're doing for. Um, and listening to your audience is almost like the instrumental foundation to creating good content, and good content will go viral. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I really think it's the perfect foundation. That's where every sort of content piece should start. At the end of the day, is it something that your audience is going to like? Is it something that your audience is going to engage with? If not, maybe take a closer look at it.
Yeah, exactly. Love that. So that is, yeah, my number one tip for idea generation. Then,
Yes.
when you're actually creating the content, you need to focus on short, trendy videos, right? So we all know attention spans are on the downhill thanks to TikTok.
Goldfish.
Yes. So the stats say that 15 to 30-second videos perform the
Mhm.
best, right? Due to like our
Yes.
shortening attention spans and all of these things.
Yes.
With that being said, the first 3 to 5 seconds are also very crucial because you need to get people hooked into your video, right?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, and you had some tips here as well with um,
Mhm.
like hooks.
Hooks.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's again, like you have to think about your customer, you have to think about what's going to work for them. But what I've seen really, really works is thinking about hooks front of mind. So, like you said, those 3 to 5 seconds are crucial. And I, unfortunately, can very self-awareingly say that I am a part of the demographic that is affected by this attention span. I scroll past immediately if there's not a hook. It
yeah,
doesn't capture me, it doesn't keep me entertained. I'm just like, I'm ready for someone else's content who's on the ball, who's ready to entertain me. So in terms of hooks, what I've seen works really well is on the one side, you can do something written. So for example, if it's a bold piece of text that pops up at the 2 3 second mark, quick, loud, you cannot miss it. That works really well. If you want to try and use something audio, so for example, like a sound effect, if you want to try and give something away for later in the video. So the one thing that I always go back to is if you're doing 3 top tips, you say, here are my 3 top tips for making your short form content go viral. Tip 3 is absolutely crucial. In those first
yeah,
3 to 5 seconds, you've hooked them. Now they're going to, and even if they're a smart consumer and they're not enjoying the rest of your video, they'll use the little scroll bar at the bottom. They'll skip through to tip 3, but you would have retained them. You would have kept their
exactly.
interest. They're interested in what you're saying. So that's the audio visual element of it. And then you can think about something a little bit more graphic, something a little bit more interesting. Something that we do typically is actually the inclusion of memes in short form content, which I think is
Yes.
it's just such a nice way to relate to your audience. You just pop a quick meme of someone crying, or Kim's lost her earring in the ocean, and it's relatable. It's something that people recognize.
Yes.
That's also, it works incredibly well as a hook.
Yeah, I love that. And
Mhm.
also bringing in what you said about adding the memes, that goes back to also just visual storytelling. And it's one thing to
100%.
hook the audience, but then you have to keep them engaged
You have to
throughout.
retain them 100%. And I think that's something that, especially now with everyone catching on to how algorithms want you to utilize hooks, people are getting lazy with the rest of their content. And like I said, the platforms, in the same way that we understand our audience, that is their main goal. So they will give them, for example, on TikTok, the 2x option, where if your content isn't engaging enough, people will skip through you. If your
Yeah,
content isn't engaging enough, they'll use that little scroll bar at the bottom and skip through you. So 100%, I think it's crucial to A, hook, but then B, retain.
retain, of course. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that comes down to obviously having a good script, but also editing, like having some fast
100%.
zooms, changing a camera angle every 3 seconds,
Mhm.
or there's another one that we like to do where we have a little bubble of like my face here if we're doing a tutorial type video.
Yes, I love
That's
that.
very cute. Yeah. So little editing, what do you call it? Easter eggs that you
Yes,
can
like a little
use.
bit of finesse on the way that you edit. The other
Yes.
thing that we saw as well, that I think is so accurate, we spoke about how in your edit, if you have, like, say, for example, a 30-second video, they recommend that every 3 to 4 seconds you kind of chop up and have like something
Yeah.
different happening. And I think we speak about it a little bit later when it comes to actual content you're creating, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be a cut. You can think a little bit more innovatively. You can think of a pop-up. Like I said, you can think of, keep hooks throughout your entire content piece if you can, to re-engage people.
Yeah. I
So
love
yeah,
that.
the importance of hooks I cannot stress enough.
Yeah. And then with that also is finding those challenges, those trends, that
Mhm.
fun content that relates to your brand and your audience to bring in.
Definitely.
For example, I know now with the Olympics, my favorite like trendy thing that's happening with the Olympics is where people are
Mhm.
like, oh, unfortunately, guys, I didn't make it onto the Olympic team. And then it's just them being so bad at
I
sports.
I love it. But even then, that's a trend that's quite niched to people who didn't actually make the Olympics. But then Suni Lee, who is a part of the American
Yes.
Olympics team for gymnastics, did one where she actually fell while doing the bar.
Yes.
So, or the
I
balance
love
beam,
that.
it was that one. So yeah, I think embodying trends and making them authentic to who you are as a content creator, it will
Exactly.
pay off.
And I think in that one she captioned it, "Unfortunately, I did make the Olympic team."
Yes, she did. It
That was
was such good
brilliant.
content. I loved
Yeah,
it.
that was brilliant.
Mhm.
With that also visual elements on screen, I think a big, big, big tip that I also have is having closed captions on your
Oh,
videos
yes. Yes, yes, yes.
for accessibility, right? Reaching a wider
100%.
audience.
Mhm.
Also, a lot of the time, I saw somewhere that so when you start scrolling through, was it Instagram, through Reels, it
Mhm.
automatically like the sound is off. Whereas obviously if you're in
Yes.
TikTok, the sound is on automatically. So some
Yes.
people will just scroll or like go through your stories or whatever with no sound. So you have to
Mhm.
be mindful of things like that as well.
100%. It's again using every potential tool in your belt to retain people and keep them engaged. Another massive thing with closed captions is SEO. I mean, no one can dispute the importance of these social media platforms in terms of becoming almost the most widely used search engine.
Yeah.
Gen Zs are more likely to go to TikTok to search something than Google, which is like the untapped potential there to be searchable and to be found through things like SEO is massive. So things like closed captions, it's a really great way to make sure that your content that you're creating is not only about what you're saying and what you're showing and what you're doing, but it's also being written into a written format with keywords that the platform
Yep.
can identify. So it's not just about the first couple people engaging with your content. The platform sees that you're creating content that people are searching for. It pushes your content.
Yep.
Mhm.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I thank you.
moving moving swiftly into our next point. So
Mhm.
now when it comes to actually creating the content, one of the big things that we love to do is incorporate pop culture, things that are happening right now, hot topics that everyone's talking about. Like, for example, we said the Olympics. It's all about just being relevant, being relatable, right, to a wider audience. So with this, my number one tip for people is always to look at seasonal events, what's coming up. In a couple months, for example, we're going to have Christmas coming up. We have Black Friday, the holidays. So know in the back of your mind that there will be audios and things that are trending at the time. So make space for that in your content calendar.
100%. My biggest point here is I absolutely love pop culture. I think it is the backbone of social media, 100%. But one of the biggest things that I see that brands, they kind of miss the connection about pop culture and the type of content that they want to produce for their brands is the fact that it needs to remain relevant. It needs to be timely.
Yes.
There is nothing worse than seeing massively ahead of the time pre-prepped Christmas content. It is so non-timely. It is so irrelevant to what is actually going on at the time that it's posted, all within the spirit of pre-planning and planning as far in advance as possible. But my biggest tip here is remain relevant. So make sure that if you see a trend popping up around Christmas, hop on that trend as soon as you humanly can. Do it as soon as possible because you'll ride the wave. The worst thing is hopping on it right at the end when the trend is dying and everyone kind of gets bored of it. But something you can try and do that we've seen a lot of success with is if you do hop onto a trend a little bit later, spin it to be authentic to your brand. People will recognize the trend, which will get them interested, and then they'll stay for the fact that you did something authentic with that trend. So yeah, those
100%.
would be my 2 tips. Make sure that you're relevant and timely, and then definitely stay authentic to your brand.
Yeah, I love that. And like you said, don't be afraid of jumping on the trend. Like I will literally, I'll be scrolling looking for ideas. And once I see the same sound twice, I'm like, okay, we can do this one.
That's a trend.
Let's go.
Saved.
That's exactly what happened with the video that we posted on the ZoomSphere account with Kyra, where it's that sound that's like, some days I am just on fire. I literally found that in like 10 minutes. I saw 3 videos with that sound. I was like, we got to do this today. So yeah.
No, I completely agree.
Big one. And with that, speaking of audios, we love to link to the actual popular sound, right? So sometimes when you auto post, or even when you edit and you download the sound, edit it on CapCut or wherever, and post it, it comes out as original audio. Whereas when you actually link to the sound and people can click the sound and find your video through there, that also gives you a wider audience to reach.
100%. At the end of the day, the platform, like I said, the platform is trying to understand its audience in the same way you are. So if the platform is telling you that people are enjoying this audio, it is going to push that audio to more people. So use what the platform is giving you. If it's giving you a sound that's doing well, don't try to just use the same audio in your video, but not actually link back to that original audio because you're missing out massively on the potential performance.
Yeah, exactly. And with that, you have to be very careful with copyright, unfortunately.
So, because we are ethical huns. We do not steal.
100%. We don't steal unless we can, right? On smaller accounts, like it's better to use like we said, linking to the actual sound. But obviously when you're dealing with bigger clients or, clients with a lot of like legal issues, whatever, you don't really want to get anything taken down. You've worked so hard on it. Rather use an original sound or even spinning the trend to, I've seen, what was the song? No. It was when TikTok removed all the Universal music.
Yes.
So everything was getting cut off. And then people started
just doing dances to like the most boring music. Yes.
No, and then social media managers started like singing the popular songs like really badly to avoid copyright. So even using things like that and turning it in your favor would be a really 100%. Good idea.
Again, being authentic. That is so original to that creator. I think the other thing that I've seen within the creative space, like I said, we're not about stealing. Like we want creators to be empowered to continuously create. And in order for it to be an environment where that happens, there has to be some form of ethical code between creatives. And I think as long as it is coming back to and benefiting the original creator, perfect. The second that you start to move into the space of monetization off of someone else's content, or you're moving into the space where you're really starting to pick up a lot of popularity, just check in. Err on the side of caution, pop them a message. We do that very often, just to make sure that everything is all right with the original creator. But for the vast majority of times, especially with original audios, it's feeding into the creative space, so it's not really too much of a problem.
Yes, exactly. And what did you say? We spoke about this yesterday, where you said TikTok is going to come with a new thingy for content creators where you can explain.
My word. I think that this is absolutely ingenious. So you know how obviously there's a bunch of smaller indie musicians and artists through all genres in all countries, and they are 100% gaining exposure from being on TikTok. So what a lot of artists will do is they'll share a little bit of promo for their song 3 weeks before their song comes out, and then it'll start to pick up traction. The second their song comes out, the saves are through the roof because of the fact that there was all pre-marketing essentially through the platform. So now what TikTok is starting to do is they're actually incentivizing musicians and people within the musical space to start and launch their musical content, so songs, audios, anything like that, on TikTok. So say now, for example, I am a musician and I've just written a song. It's a really sick EDM song. It's great. I come to TikTok and I'm like, I want this to be offered to other creators as paid promotion. Then if I, as a creator, or let's in this instance, because I'm the musician, Oriana would be the creator, Oriana then sees that she gets this notification that she can essentially partner with the artist and create a piece of content that has the song in the background that is completely on brand. It's 100% authentic to her, but it will directly benefit me. I think that it is an ingenious way to share and highlight new and up-and-coming artists, and B, reward creators again for going viral. So yeah, big ups to TikTok on that one.
And the collaboration aspect, I think, is wonderful.
I love it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that tidbit. I will be looking out for that feature.
Yeah, I think it's coming up on the rise. I'm not going to lie. I think it's going to become more and more popular.
It's going to be so awesome, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So now we've thought about idea generation, the actual content creation, posting. Well, not posting. We're getting there. Now we need to talk about the ending, right? So we've hooked the audience, we've retained them. Now, at the end of your video, you have to give a clear and concise CTA, right? It doesn't always have to be, like you said with the hook, doesn't always have to be you saying, go to our website. It can be as simple as a little notes at the bottom saying, read the caption for more information. And then the caption directs them somewhere else. Or, you want to make sure that your audience doesn't just swipe past your video, they watch it and then keep on watching more of your content or go to your website or end up buying your product or whatever it is.
100%. No, and I think the one thing that I always go back to when talking about how to end off or how to think of a call to action that's on brand, I always go back to being A, authentic, and then B, look at what has worked. I use the example of James Charles quite frequently because of the fact that in every single piece of content that he produced for years when he was up and coming throughout his career, he would always say, use code James for 10% off. And that became his entire brand. Every single brand he worked with, it was code James for 10% off. At the end of every single promotion, code James for 10% off. Later, when he launched his own brand, his own makeup, it was code James for 10% off. And there's nothing that sticks in a consumer's brain more than a strong call to action that is authentic. So where you can, try and tweak it. Don't be boring and just say link in bio. Try and make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really, really good example, to be honest. And I mean, that's stuck with us for years.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, great. So now your video is done. Now, when you go to posting, the biggest thing here is visual appeal, right? So
Yes.
number one, that's having a custom cover if you can upload one, like for example on Instagram. I will do a quick demo when we're done talking about it.
Perfect.
And then the other thing is if you can't upload a custom cover, like for example on TikTok, where you have to pick like a screenshot from the video essentially, just making sure it's a nice part of the video and not your, because usually
100%.
TikTok will always go for the part where like your eyes are half open and you're like in the middle of a sentence, and it'll choose that as
Or
a
like
cover.
the worst is when it's obviously that little what's it called? Almost like a boomerang where it goes and then comes back and goes and comes back. And it's always the most unflattering section that it automatically picks.
No,
And
literally.
it's never a good look. So 100%, I completely agree. Always try to customize it. Again, be authentic, make it on brand.
Yep, 100%. So if I can show you quickly, I have this post of a lovely cake with some blueberries on.
Beautiful.
And yeah, my favorite thing to do also with custom covers is, for example, if you have some kind of, what do you call it? Like a series, like different episodes of one series, then you can upload something that kind of links them all together, you know, having the same little font or like a little element or something like that. So for this
100%.
one, I just have a Facebook, a TikTok. I'm going to upload it to YouTube Shorts and Instagram as well. So I can use the copy from button. That makes everything so much easier. And then this little picture icon will allow you to upload a cover. Great.
Woo!
So now I've made this cover that just says blueberry cake decor. Cute. I can upload it. And now I have something lovely that matches my feed.
Stunning.
That, yeah, it's cute, you know? Okay, I'm going to copy this one as well. And then for TikTok, I've just chosen with the slider where I want my cover to be. So I will choose just the beginning. Cool.
Another thing I wanted to add there quickly about custom covers. You know how you spoke about the fact that it's a really nice way to kind of identify if it's, for example, a piece of a series, a piece of a series of content that they're creating?
Yes.
That's another hook. So if someone is on your profile and they can see the cover of what the video is about, it's another potential hook.
Yeah, I love that. 100%. Cool. So now you see here, I have multiple posts in one, which is great. It's all going to auto post once I've approved it. And if you go here to the top right, you see a little Instagram icon, and this is where you can preview the feed, which is my favorite thing ever. Because I can't visually imagine how my feed is going to look, and I don't want to go on my phone the whole time, but I have it right here. And if I think,
it's so
maybe it will look better here, it will look better there, I can move it around and it will update. So that is a great feature that we have on ZoomSphere. Be sure to use it. We've spoken about this before, but it's not necessary to have like the perfectly curated feed, but it does make you look more professional,
100%.
And I think the phrase, exactly. And I think the phrase we used was, your Instagram feed is like if people were window shopping, what do you want them to see at your storefront?
Yep.
So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind.
Completely agree.
Cool. We are almost at the end. So you've posted your video, you have a beautiful cover. Okay, well, before you post, you're posting, right? My next step would be to interact, right? And use interactive elements. So platforms will usually bring in weird little features like Instagram did with the polls that you could add to captions. Obviously, like adding collaborators, things like that. When they bring in these new features, you will actually get rewarded for using them in the algorithm, right? So they'll push out your video, see how it performs, blah, blah, blah. So my biggest thing is if there is a new feature, something cool that you can add while posting, always add it if you can.
100%. Again, like I said with the audios, if a platform is showing that they want you to utilize something to engage your audience, use it where possible. Again, another tool in your tool belt.
Yep, exactly. And then, okay, now we finally posted. Now we can look at the analytics.
We're live.
Yay. Okay, cool. So now to go back and see what has worked, what hasn't worked, It's always important to look at the numbers, although we're not all numbers people. It's okay.
Yes.
It's very easy to see which number
This
is
is a
higher than the
safe
other.
space.
But yeah, it's very important to look at your insights, your analytics, so that you can not only track, but learn and adapt, right? So
Yes.
just looking at two posts, this one did really well, this one didn't. What makes them different? What did my audience like from this one that isn't present in this one? And how can we recreate the good one, you know?
Yeah, 100%. The one thing I do see a lot of brands, and especially ones that are, I like to label them as go-getters, brands that really want to create something incredible and want to do it fast and as soon as possible. They want to create content that their audience is going to like. A lot of these brands adapt too quickly. They adapt without learning prior. And I think the beautiful part of learning is genuinely, like you said, analyzing two pieces of content. What made this one different from this one? From everything, like the format of the content. Was one a video? Was one a graphic? The platform that the content was on. Is it on TikTok, which is predominantly visual and a shorter attention span? Is it on LinkedIn, where written content tends to perform better? Did you tag everyone you could possibly tag? Could you have added a poll? Could you have added? There's so many different questions. You almost have to ask yourself why for both consistently. And that's a massive part of the learning. And once you've learned, you can start adapting. And Oriana, you and I speak about it quite frequently because we are very steadfast in making sure that the content that we create is justified. Whether it's a trend, whether it's something that is, product-based or service-based, we want to make sure that it's content that is based off of some form of justification. And it's very interesting to see when different brands decide to make their adaptations. We always speak about, if it's stories, if you're doing a story series, you can change those up within 2 weeks. If you're getting a lot of engagement, you can even learn and adapt within a week. Try something different, see how that does. Whereas if you're doing, a YouTube series where you're only posting once or twice a month, it's a lot more difficult to make justified decisions and make quick changes. You almost want to let your campaigns ride out a bit, just so that you can understand where to make small tweaks so you can make bigger decisions later on.
100%. Yeah, exactly. That's it. So let things run their course. I've also had videos go viral months after posting them. So
100%.
It's the weirdest thing. If something doesn't do well now, it doesn't mean it will always
never do well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that is all our points. I will say in closing, I think the biggest takeaways from today is just be authentic, be persistent, be patient, and know that you can follow all the tips, all the tricks, all the hacks online. You're not guaranteed for every single post to go viral. And that also shouldn't be a goal, right? Because not necessarily, like virality doesn't mean it's a good piece of content or it's, but focusing on quality over quantity. And like you said in the beginning, good quality content that, follows these rules and things like that will eventually go viral with the correct audience, right?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I think the creative space, particularly when it comes to social media, the creative space is without limits. It's free flowing, it's ebbing, it's flowing, everyone can create anything and it is beautiful and justified and spectacular. But social media does put boundaries and restrictions and rewards in the creative space. People get monetized for doing really good content. People get monetized for engaging with their audience, and they get rewarded for their content going viral. So it's very easy as a creative to place a massive expectation on yourself to do so, and to eventually label your content as bad if it's not performing well. When in actuality, I have seen beautiful content that's given me goosebumps as a creative and a consumer that got maybe 40 likes and 2,000 views and nothing more, but I've seen horrible content that I will forever question go absolutely viral and perform incredibly. So I think it's all about understanding that good content doesn't always go viral and bad content doesn't always go away. You need to ebb and flow with the platform and be comfortable with the fact that your content isn't always going to go viral, and that's okay. But if you use the right steps, like we've mentioned in this live, if you're consistent and you remain authentic, your content will eventually go viral. Because it will reach the right people.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. Thank you so much, Vanya. We do have one question from Tom. So Tom says the cover doesn't work for Facebook. So that's choosing a custom cover for Facebook. That's because on Facebook, you don't really have a Reels feed. It just starts, well, when I scrolled on Facebook, it just starts auto playing all the videos. Yeah, so you don't really need a custom for Facebook.
No, and I think that's something, obviously Meta owns Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, all the different platforms, but I think that is something that Meta distinctly wants different between Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, you can scroll through Reels, but like you said, it's an autoplay. It's not really displayed on your profile as clearly as it is on Instagram. So
exactly,
like I said in my point, go back to wherever you can use the tool of a custom reel cover, use it, because it's an additional potential hook.
Perfect. Awesome. So we have spoken about everything we needed to speak about. Ever for short form content.
This is 100% the guide on how to go viral with short form content. We have covered literally all of my expertise.
Yeah. Everything we know has been put out there.
100%.
Thank you so much for your time, Vanya. Thanks everyone that has tuned into this live. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a lovely afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.